Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. It's 14 minutes to 7 a.m. this morning. Well, the festive season is upon us, and I know that many people will be bringing out their fireworks come the 31st in the midst of the jolliness. We ought to remember, though, that fireworks, although they can be spectacular fun, safety is critical. Robert Malaudzi is the spokesperson of the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services. He joins us here on Morning Live. Welcome to the show.
Morning to the viewers.
I suppose this is a message that you actually can't express enough. There's certain times in the year where you really have to highlight just how important safety is when you're speaking about fireworks, and New Year's is most definitely one of those times.
Yes, it's a time where most of the people out there, they celebrate, the coming of New Year. And unfortunately, they tend to make themselves vulnerable to injuries. We see, people getting amputated, having amputated hands and legs, and some even losing their lives. So it's very important for us to, if we get an opportunity like this, to highlight, to make sure that people use these fireworks safely to avoid these, injuries which might occur.
What are some of the precautions that people who do perhaps choose to use fireworks that they can take?
Yeah, firstly, they need to buy the fireworks from a reputable dealer, and also they need to make sure that before they use, they read on the precautionary measures or labeling in terms of the direction for use, so that they can be able to use it wisely. I think another safety tip is that young children is a no-no. You cannot allow a situation where young children are given, fireworks to use. I think.
At what age? What age would you consider to?
For me, as an emergency service personnel, I would say young children mustn't even be given a chance to use fireworks. Because,
what's the age limit?
Because fireworks, even adults, most of the adults, you find them, they're using them under the influence of alcohol. Some even they're using them while they're sober, they end up, injuring themselves. So I wouldn't allow, young children to. I will encourage, parents to visit, areas which are organized. Most of the, municipalities or areas, or there are events where it's organized, where people can actually watch and look and see, fireworks display, which is much more safer. So if people decide to use them at home, they need to make sure that they use them safely. They need to have a bucket of water or a garden hose to make sure that if maybe there is the firework doesn't work properly, they can be able to soak it in a bucket of water or soak it with a garden hose. Because we've seen situations where a fireworks doesn't work properly, and after a few minutes, then it explodes on them.
Sure. And
no part of the body is supposed to be over a firework. You are not actually supposed to be holding it, because some of the explosives are very, dangerous.
Yeah. There are certain bylaws that
Yes.
Protect people, because there's no doubt that pet owners hate this time of the year because
Yes.
of the strain that it puts on their animals. And there's a lot of bylaws that protect, other citizens in the area that perhaps don't want to partake in looking at a fireworks display or putting out a fireworks display. What are the bylaws regarding fireworks?
Yeah, the bylaws they differ depending on each and every area will have municipality will have a specific bylaws, but within the city of Johannesburg, we are allowed to use fireworks an hour before midnight and an hour after midnight on the New Year's Eve, and we can also use fireworks between 7 and 10 on the New Year's Day. So the issue of situations where we find that people just using them, all the time, every day, day and night, from the 1st of December to the 31st of December, it's a no-no. It can't be allowed. And we also seen an increase in terms of the animals, cruelty to animals. We've seen, even though we don't really respond to injuries to animals, but we have seen them, people throwing fireworks to animals. So those are some of the things where we need to discourage out there. People need to start changing that behavior, so that There's also situations in places like Hillbrow where you find people throwing things from the balconies, things like that. Even though you find out that there are law enforcement agencies and us as emergency services in those areas, but I'm just happy that we've seen a decrease in terms of the number of those incidences where people are throwing things out of the windows and at the end of the day, injuring people who might be innocently enjoying themselves out there.
What are the precautions that need to be taken if you do live in a built-up area like Hillbrow, where there is high density, when you are maybe using fireworks? Are fireworks still allowed to be used in such an area?
No, fireworks are supposed to be used outdoors, away from buildings and also away from plants and combustible materials. Combustible materials, I mean things which can burn. You cannot use a firework next to a petrol station, something you understand that you might have, you might cause, fire there. So those are some of the things which people need to take precautions. The only problem is that most of the people during when they celebrate the end of the year, they are mostly under the influence of alcohol. They're using fireworks. They tend to be, uncontrollable. So I think with the opportunities like this one, we're just hoping that we'll have a safe, a festive season celebration.
What is your advice to those people that have got animals that during this period of time where the use of fireworks is permitted in Johannesburg or in other parts of South Africa, what is your advice to pet owners during this time?
I will say to them, they need to make sure that they are indoors. If they cannot be able to, put them like somewhere indoors, they need to maybe take them to like organizations which can be able to look after them, like organizations like SABC, SA, and the other cruelty of animals, and other organizations which can be able to look after the animals during this period of celebrations. Because we have seen, as emergency service worker, we have seen, year after year where animals are being left, stranded out there while people are celebrating and using these fireworks. Some of them even getting injured in the process. So it's not only, people who get injured or, sustain injuries during this the period of festive season.
And finally, if somebody does see that somebody is making use of fireworks in an area that they feel is far too close to perhaps a petrol station, or they are using fireworks outside of those designated areas which you have explained to us, an hour before and an hour after midnight and between 7 and 10 on New Year's Day, who do people report those people to? Yeah,
obviously the fireworks, mostly it's governed by the South African Police Service. I think they do actually have an Act 26 of 1956, which deals with the explosive acts. But also within the city of Johannesburg itself, we've got a department, the fire safety department, which deals with fire safety bylaws and so on. And also over and above that question you're asking now is that as a city, as a mitigation strategy, we do have some operations we will be conducting throughout the city to make sure that those people who do sell fireworks illegally and who have got a larger quantity of fireworks which are not supposed to store will be able to remove those fireworks so that people can be able to enjoy themselves safely. I think now is not the time to educate and educate people. So I think it's the time to enforce, to make sure that people are safe. Because I think we have been talking about it throughout the year. We have had a number of campaigns where we have been informing people to make sure that if they're selling, they need to make sure that they're licensed to do so. So I think this is the time for us to make sure that we remove, the dangers which might be caused out there.
All right, so the big message is please be safe if you do partake in using fireworks over this period. Thank you very much. Robert Malaudzi is the spokesperson of the City of Johannesburg's Emergency Management Services, and also just saying that there are laws that govern the use of fireworks. So if you are concerned over this period, then you can call the SAPS, who will be able to police this situation. Let's check in with